Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterloo City Council this Monday, August 5th. Welcome to all of you that are in chambers tonight. Madam Clerk, would you read the roll, please?
Ms. Cole, Mr. Getty.
Here.
Mr. Jones, Mr. Greenwood.
Here.
Mr. Schmidt.
Here.
Mr. Welper.
Here.
Mr. Hart.
Here.
Thank you. If you would all join me in standing for just a moment of silent reflection or prayer, please. Thank you very much. Our Pledge of Allegiance tonight, I'm leading it, is led by me. If you would all join me, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Hart?
I'd like to make a motion to approve an amended agenda, and that amendment is in number 10 to add the contract amounts for both of those projects. Also, with the approval of the amended agenda, I move that we approve the minutes of July 22nd.
Second.
There wasn't there two amendments?
Yeah,
7
10 and
and
7.
We'll give you both of them? I thought I just heard one.
Was it number
Okay.
8 and 10
It's
amendments?
10 and
7 and
7
Okay.
or 17.
Motion and second. Council, do you have any questions regarding the agenda or the minutes? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a proclamation tonight for National Night Out, and Jessica Burdick is here to accept that. Jessica, why don't you come on up? Come through the gate there, please. And how are you this evening? Come on up.
Thank you.
Very good. We have, again, a proclamation tonight, ladies and gentlemen, declaring this coming Tuesday as National Night Out. Tomorrow, that's correct. Proclamation, City of Waterloo, Iowa. Whereas the National Association of Town Watch is sponsoring a unique nationwide crime, drug, and violence prevention program on August 6, 2013, called National Night Out. And whereas the 30th Annual National Night Out provides a unique opportunity for the City of Waterloo to join forces with thousands of other communities across the country in promoting cooperative police community crime prevention efforts. And whereas neighborhood associations play a vital role in assisting the Waterloo Police Department through joint crime, drug, and violence prevention efforts in the City of Waterloo and is supporting National Night Out locally. And whereas it is essential that all citizens of the City of Waterloo be aware of the importance of crime prevention programs and the impact their participation can have on reducing crime, drugs, and violence in the City of Waterloo. And whereas police community partnerships, neighborhood safety, awareness, and cooperation are important themes of the National Night Out program. Now, therefore, I, Buck Clark, Mayor of the City of Waterloo, Iowa, do hereby call upon all citizens of the city the City of Waterloo to join neighborhood associations and the National Association of Town Watch in supporting the 30th Annual National Night Out on August 6, 2013. Jessica, there is your proclamation, and let me give you a microphone so you can say a couple of words to the folks listening, okay? Just walk into the television camera there. There you go.
Good.
Okay.
So tomorrow, National Night Out, Target is going to be involved in two different events, one with the Maples Neighborhood Association as well as the West Central Neighborhood Association. And what we're going to be doing there is basically helping facilitate games and help with food serving and just kind of lend our hands to help build partnerships in the community. So it's something that's going to be a lot of fun. This is Target's 9th year of helping sponsor National Night Out, so we're really excited to be a part of it.
Very good. Thank you, Jessica. Very good. And we hope you have a good turnout tomorrow night. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a team member of the month for August to recognize, and I know he's not here tonight, he had a family matter to come up, so he couldn't be here, but Jeff Turner, who works in our central garage, was nominated and is the August Team Member of the Month. And his supervisor just said that Jeff is just a great guy. He always shows up, he always works extra, he always has a smile on his face, and he's always ready to help and go a little bit beyond. So Jeff, if you're out there watching, congratulations, and you do a great job for the city, and please keep it up. Very good.
Mr. Mayor, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Is the number 2,
It's a separate item.
it's a separate item, okay. So I'd like to make a motion to receive, place on file, and approve the consent agenda, items 1A through B39. Also, with the approval of the consent agenda, I move that we pay our bills, which will be read by our Finance Vice Chair.
Our bills this week are $2,610,253.45. That's 2,610,253.45. Second.
Council, do you have any questions regarding the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schmidt?
Could I just ask for a little clarification on item 1B8, the beer outdoor service for the Cedar Valley Pride Fest? Do I read that are we allowing outdoor service in 3 separate blocks? Is that how I read that? I was just looking for a little clarification for that. And then, are they a beer license holder, or I haven't seen one quite like that before, so I was just looking for a little clarification.
Susie, do you know who's holding the license?
Let me pull it real quick, I have it. It is, yes, they're incorporated, they're
And they have
their
a
own
lic-
entity, so they're applying on their own.
and they have a beer license or some,
They're asking to get one, a temporary special permit type license. It's not a long-term license, but it's just
That's what
like,
this is for.
gotcha. And that's for 3 separate blocks downtown, correct?
yeah, I was gonna
Agreed.
see if there's a drawing.
It would have to be.
There is. It looks like. Yeah, they're kind of going, they're taking an area that's on a corner and then going down the street. So it's not 3 separate areas. It's one large block area, but they're also taking the T intersection, which is making it on multiple streets.
Gotcha.
Is what it looks like based on their
Thank you.
drawing.
Further questions on the consent agenda? I'm sorry, roll call vote, Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Getty?
I got a question, Mr. Mayor, on this Pride Fest. Who is that organization?
Cedar Valley Pride Fest is the Cedar Valley Pride Fest.
And
They're-
the contact is David Deeds. but
David
they
Deeds
are
is the
their own
contact,
entity.
that they are they had this last year, Harold, the first one, very successful, had a lot of people to the west side of downtown, and it's an organization that promotes gay and lesbian activities, and they're just a very good group.
Yes.
Okay?
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good, the motion carries. We have number 2, which is a little odd on the agenda here, but how do you want us to do that, Madam Clerk?
Just a motion to deny those
Okay,
liquor licenses.
there's 2 licenses that are on for approval, I'm sorry, they were submitted for approval, but the request is for denial. So if somebody would read those into the record, and then we can have some conversation on the 2. And if you want to take them one at a time, that's fine.
That's what I was just going to ask.
I think it would probably be preferred, as a matter of fact.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, and item number 2, motion to deny beer, liquor, and wine applications. Number 1 is Speedy Mart, 1027 East 4th Street. It's for Class B wine and a C beer, and it's renewal.
Point of clarification, if you take it as an entire motion and you vote, are you able to split up your votes if we take it on an entire motion. So
It would be better, if-
2.1.
let's just separate them. We'll do 2.1 and 2.2, separate items.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so there's been a motion on item number 1. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? I'm sorry, no, cancel that. Cancel the all in favor. We do have people here that want to speak to this, and I'm going to start with Eric Schrader from the Planning Department, that maybe he can give us an explanation as to why there is a motion for denial, or a request for denial. Eric, please. On the Speedy Mart first, and then we'll do the brick house.
Eric Schrader, city planner, and I did provide a memo that kind of gave the history of this. I try not to go into a ton of detail, but in summary, there was a alcohol establishment at this address that vacated and transferred their license to another establishment. The applicant applied for a license to establish Speedy Mart, a convenience store, back in this, which was originally approved as the site was still legal non-conforming because the previous site had not been, previous use had not been abandoned for more than 1 year, which was the time period provided at that point in time. The use has not actually operated as an alcohol sales use. The zoning ordinance was changed, and the current ordinance for the legal nonconforming provision has a 3-month time period and has wording in there about actively operating. We worked with the applicants trying to give them as much time as possible based on being kind of actively pursuing putting the reuse back in there. But it hasn't, so when the renewal came up, we sent a notification letter to the owner noting that the legal nonconforming status had lapsed, and therefore the applicant had 2 options. One was to not apply for an alcohol sales. He could proceed with the convenience store business as a non-alcohol sales use, or option 2 would be to go to before the Board of Adjustment asking for a variance to reestablish a legal nonconforming use. So that's kind of a summary.
Okay.
Any questions?
So the timing is the issue, Eric?
Yes.
The time has ran, okay, without a license. Mr. Schmidt?
And they could have gone before the Board of Adjustment, but have not. Is that correct?
They have not submitted an application as of this point in time.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Roby?
I was listening, Roosevelt Roby, I'm sorry. I own Speedy Mart, not Contemporary Redevelopment. I own Speedy Mart. Now, in working with your planning department, primarily Noel and Eric, we went through a lot of conundrum about this. And Eric has everything about right except few little details he didn't tell. And those details are very important. And what I want the council to do is do this. Look at what people were doing. Not at the law per se, but what people were doing in trying to obey the law. That's all I want you to do, is listen to that. Now, as he said, when we took it over, we owned the building that the previous owner, previous lease that had an alcohol license, they vacated and went to another location. We could have applied for a liquor license, Class E or Class C. We didn't. We just wanted beer and wine, thinking of the community, because we had had so much protest about the liquor in that location, along with the kids. And we agreed with the community. So we said, we'll make this a convenience store. And then the same night that we got approved for that, we got approved for a Class E liquor license. And as many of you know, a Class E liquor license required quite a bit of cash outlay. Not only for stock, but we had to revamp a whole building. We spent close to $80-some thousand in putting a liquor store there. Then we were going to head back to the convenience store. I had conversations with Eric as your laws were progressing from a year's leeway down to 3 months. He said, well, Brother Welch, you're over the line, but here's the way we can kind of save this. Get a building permit so that you can at least say you're working on it. And we were working on it. I went and got a building permit. And then come back, now, I'm jumping back and forth, but I want you to see what was happening. So then when the liquor store license come up, Eric was supposed to approve that. I met every deadline, I showed the liquor sales, I showed the grocery sales, passed with flying colors. But Eric has to sign off on that. That happened in April. As of 2 weeks ago, Eric hadn't signed off. And the city clerk's office said, no, he hadn't signed this. So I went up to Eric and called him and all that. And Eric says, well, I thought I signed off. Haven't done it, Eric. Haven't done it. No, I'm not trying to put him down. He's a human being. Anybody can make a mistake, but he hadn't done it. And so then there was a little bit of frustration on his part, I felt. So then he comes back to this. Remember, he told me to get a building permit, and that would cover things. Then after he was apprised that he hadn't signed off on the Class E liquor license, he said, well, here's what I'm going to do. Otherwise, he's going to split the baby. We're going to give you the liquor store because for some reason I lost my sign-off. We're going to give you that. But now we're going to come down hard on you on the convenience store. What? We've been planning on this convenience store with just beer and wine. Now, he said, well, and then the language sounds good, but look up under the language. That's why I said, watch what people were doing. He said, well, you weren't actively selling alcohol. I have a liquor license, a beer and wine license at 1027 East 4th Street. Now, if I want to just haphazardly meet your law requirements per se, you know what I had to do? All I had to do is go get, let's say, 2 cases of Budweiser and some wine, put a sign up saying, excuse our remodeling, and start selling beer and wine. I would have met your ordinance. I don't work like that. I don't do things haphazardly. But don't think I didn't think about it. But Eric told me I was protected. And now because he makes a mistake, I'm going to get chopped. Not fair. And I'm saying this. I haven't been harmed yet. I really haven't been. But if I am harmed, I'm not going to like that very well. And I'm going to try to get any kind of compensation I can. And that's not a threat. You know, I enjoy working with this council. I really enjoy seeing Buck Clark there. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. I enjoy seeing my cousins there. We've been cousins since life, okay? Well, my point is, let's be fair here. If you want me to open, just say, give me a date. He could have given me a date. Hey, okay, we can't go along with this anymore with a building permit. We want you open in 90 days.
Roosevelt, when do you expect your convenience store
I
to
think
be?
now that I've informed my investors of the situation, he said, well, see when they want you to open. If they want us to go get some beer and wine, we'll sell beer and wine.
Well, we don't want you to just sell beer and wine. We want
That's what I didn't want to do.
a convenience store is
Yeah.
what you've planned on there all along.
Yeah.
When would the convenience store be open, should you get this?
I'd say by October, November, by Christmas.
Okay, and do you, does the receiving this license determine whether or not you open or not? Would you open?
Well, I think I would try, because one of the things in the kind of community that I work in, I think one of the problems with economic development in a depressed area, that there hasn't been enough creativity of business activity.
Okay.
And so if I didn't get it, I would still open up.
Okay.
And pursue other things too there. But I really want the beer.
Okay.
I really don't care about the wine.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Council, do you have any questions of Eric or of Noel or of Mr. Roby, either one? Do we understand this? Yeah, I think there's no question that Mr. Roby his time has lapsed. It wouldn't have under the old agreement with the 1 year thing, but it certainly has now with the 90 days situation. But I also think that there's a certain degree of, maybe of misunderstanding in this, I'm not sure. But that's up to you guys.
Mr. Mayor, I guess I would just ask, could Eric comment on what Mr. Roby said?
Sure. Mr. Schrader?
Eric Schrader, city planner, and I certainly don't want to get into a he said, she said thing, but first off, you know, the license of 1117, the one he's referring to that has the Class E liquor license, you know, the timing of the sign-offs on that had nothing to do with 1027. The paperwork was filed. There was a delay in my part in getting that signed off. I had temporarily lost one of the documents, which was my fault. I did get that signed off, but that had nothing to do with 1027. The delay on 1027 was always, I was trying to give him as much time as possible to get up and running. I did tell him, pull a building permit, but we also said, get up and running. This was in December of 2012, when it was basically said, you're already past, even off of the new standards of 90 days, even going from the date that was passed as opposed to when the store actually, you know, the last use actually closed, you're past that, and now you're past 1 year, even if the ordinance hadn't changed, you're past 1 year.
I understand.
You know, I said, but you're indicating you're actively pursuing getting a replacement back in there. There was really no provision in the ordinance for that. The only provision talked about if you have a building permit and are actively working on it. So what was relayed in December of 2012 was pull a building permit and get up and running by January of 2013. And moving on beyond that, it was just kind of, I was giving him some time, and at some point I had to deal with it. I had to issue the notice of loss of non-conforming status. It's, you know, over 2 years past the lapse of the previous use.
So there's nothing magical about this date, it's just that at some point it had to be done, and this happens to be when
Yep.
it got done, okay?
So it would be my interpretation that based on the planning department's determination of loss of legal non-conforming status, you know, to be a legal use in that site, his option would be to go before the Board of Adjustment for a variance, which hasn't been applied for yet.
And Eric, that was one of my questions, is this the right step in the process? Should Mr. Roby have gone to the Board of Adjustment prior to this coming to the council?
It probably would be better, but we did review that with the attorney's office, and I think there was a preference for that, but also an understanding if Mr. Roby does not want to submit the application, that then the city would have to act on the license, but that does put the council in an odd predicament where you've got, you know, a site that the zoning determination is that it's, you know, non-compliant, but yet a license renewal in front of you. I don't know what that would mean if the license renewal was approved, but it's still not zoning compliant.
Is the rules that new licenses go to the Board of Adjustment or renewals? Because this is a renewal, I would think, one that we've already approved.
Well, it has to go to the Board of Adjustment, isn't dependent on whether it's new or renewal, although I would concede that it's a very odd situation that you would have a renewal that has lost legal non-conforming status.
Mr. Roby, I'll give you just a couple minutes if you want to answer that. Just make it brief if you would, please.
Very brief.
Thank you.
I was glad to hear that Eric went over almost the very points that I did. But did you notice in his conversation, he said, once it came up, the liquor license at 1117, then he just decided, okay, this has gone long enough. Now, I would think a proper way to do that would give me some kind of notification. Hey, Speedy Mart owner, if this isn't rectified within X number of days, we're going to have to pull your non-conforming use. Not that abruptly. That's not the way it's done.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Roby. Council, any further questions of anybody?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones?
I believe Mr. Roby has a valid point there, that, you know, it is a very confusing timeline, but for fairness, I think he should have been given kind of a drop dead date as to this is when you need to have this in or up and running. I just think perhaps we weren't as clear in this case as we could have been.
Okay,
So I think it causes some confusion.
anybody else? Mr. Schmidt?
Well, I mean, as much as we all want to see development in that corridor, I am concerned that, you know, we've passed these stringent ordinances, and now all of a sudden we're going to flip on them.
I agree with
And,
that, Mr. Schmidt.
And I empathize with Mr. Roby. If this were January of this year, if we were somewhere in a time frame that made logical sense, then I might be a little bit more willing to flex on this, but I think we're so far outside of any logical reason to not enforce our ordinance that I can't support that.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I agree that the timeframe is very extended, but it seemed like the city was just saying, okay, get it done as soon as you can. He wasn't being discouraged or told no, and that's, you know, that's where, no matter how long it went, as long as he was being told that, yeah, you're good, until all of a sudden you're not good, I think that's a problem.
Okay. Further? Let's, Madam Clerk, let's do a roll call vote on this, please, and a yes vote is deny. The motion is, or the agenda item is a request for denial, so a yes vote is for denial. Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Jones?
No.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
No.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
It's denied.
Okay, Mr. Roby, unfortunately, I'm sorry, the council has denied it at this point. We'll have to see where we can go from there and what we can do for you, but it's denied at this point.
Well, I appreciate the council at least looking at it.
You betcha.
Confident on the end, I think that you saw that very clearly.
Okay.
What happened. But
Mr. Roby.
we will, we'll continue from there.
Thank you, Mr. Roby. Next is 2A, I assume, on the Brick House. Is there anyone here from the Brick House Lounge?
We got to make the motion first.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, I'll take that item number 2 there. A motion to deny the beer, liquor, wine application for Brick House Bar and Grill, 307 Fifth Street, as for Class C, outdoor service only, and that's a new application.
Second.
Thank you. Is there anyone here from the Brick House Lounge?
Mayor, I'll just clarify that their license has actually been approved. You just actually approved them in the consent. They had put in 2 applications. One was an outdoor service that was only a small section that was next to their property. This application extends into their parking lot, but there's a 4-foot section in between their property and the parking lot that they don't own or rent. And legally, we can't give them a liquor license to something they don't have control over, so that's why we're recommending denial. This isn't taking the liquor license away from the establishment. It is simply denying the outdoor service extension into their parking lot because it crosses land that's not theirs.
Further questions? Madam, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Very good. Motion's carried. Let's do item number 3, please.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schmidt?
Item number 3, I'd like to make that motion, receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing, and that's for the fiscal year 2013 Burns Park Drainage Improvement Phase 3 contract number 850.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and the hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, are there any written objections on file to item number 3?
There were none.
Anyone in the audience that would like to speak either for or against the Burns Park Drainage Project? A second time?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion then to close the hearing.
Second.
Council, do you have any questions regarding item number 3? Mr. Jones?
So, source of funds, is it still Blackhawk Gaming grant for this, to cover the whole thing?
Mr. Hudding, please.
This is Phase 3, I didn't know whether...
Correct. The source of funding is a combination of bond money and the Blackhawk County Gaming Association money. And JB's here, he's managing the project, if you want to add any more detail to that.
Do you know how much of the...
100,000 CIP match, that'd be the bond money.
Okay. And how big a deal is this Phase 3? Is it something that has to be done right now?
It's something we've been needing done for a number of years, but I'm going to ask JB to explain the problem, the situation as it exists, since he's a little more familiar with the details than I am.
JB Bolger, Golf and Downtown Area Maintenance Manager. As far as the need, yeah, basically it's a waterway that's existing now, but it has some low spots that don't drain well, so the idea is to guarantee the fall all the way from the outlet of 11 Pond to the culvert underneath Highway 63, so to more efficiently move that water off the golf course and through the tennis center. As far as importance, yeah, I think it's very important. It's also important timing-wise, so that we don't lose the gaming portion of the funding.
So we're spending, so for $1, we're getting $6.40 back.
Yep,
Correct.
Sounds like good math to me.
yeah.
Yes.
Further?
No, that's fine, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
Sure.
Has there been a motion on that resolution, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. There's been a motion and a second, so we're all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt a resolution and conferring approval of plans, specification, form of contract, et cetera.
Second?
It's a roll call vote, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to adopt a resolution ordering construction.
Second?
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Very good, the motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to receive and file and instruct the city clerk to open and read bids and refer to engineer for review.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. While the clerk is looking for that, I'm going to make my standard disclaimer to Ms. Burdick, who is still here, that when people show up, Jessica, you are more than welcome to stay and get a good dose of civics lesson here, but don't feel like you have to. You're not going to offend anybody. If you have something else to do, feel free to leave. So that's just your choice. You bet.
The bid estimate for this project is $336,221.38, sorry. And the first bid is from B&B Builders and Supply of Waterloo, Iowa. The bid bond is for 5%. And the bid for Division 1 is $265,900.16, 265,900.16. The bid for Division 2 is $40,784.20, 40,784.20, with a total bid of $306,684.36, 306,684.36.
Would you say that one more time?
The total?
Total.
The total is 306,684.36. The next bid is from K. Cunningham Construction Incorporated of Cedar Falls, Iowa. The bid bond is for 5%. For Division 1, it's $235,473.91, 235,473.91. Division 2 is $45,799.60, 45,799.60, with a total of $281,273.51, 281,273.51. And the final bid is from Mike Dolan Concrete and Masonry of Waterloo, Iowa. The bid bond is for 5%. Division 1 is $248,308.91, 248,308.91. Division 2 is $53,706.40, 53,706.40, with a total bid of $302,015.31, 302,015.31.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 4, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Greenwood.
I'll make the motion to receive, file, approve of publication, notice of a public hearing. That's a request of Garrett Gingrich for the vacation of 8-foot wide platted utility easement located at the northwest corner of Mount Vernon Drive and Meadow Lane in the West Ridge Second Edition.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, were there any written objections on file to item number 4?
There were none.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak either for or against this item? A second time?
I'll make that motion then to close the hearing and receive and file the oral written comments and the recommendation of the approval of the Planning, Programming, and Zoning Commission.
Second.
Council, do you have any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to receive, file, consider, and pass for the first time an ordinance vacating city-owned property generally located at the northwest corner of Mount Vernon Drive, Meadow Lane in the West Ridge Second Edition.
Second.
Roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Thank you.
Carries.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Make the motion to consider and pass for the second and third times and to adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please, it's a final roll call vote.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 5, please. Mr. Hart.
I'd like to make a motion to receive and file proof of publication of notice of public hearing for the request for proposal for demolition and site clearance services, Rackham, for 710 Willow and 115 Smith Street.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the hearing is now open. Madam Clerk, were there any written objections on file to this item?
There were none.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak either for or against the demolition of 710 Willow and 115 Smith Streets? A second time.
Mr. Mayor, I move to close the hearing.
Second.
Council, do you have any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution confirming approval of plans, specifications, form of contract.
Second.
It's a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution ordering construction.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move to receive and file and instruct city clerk to open and read bids and refer to Community Planning and Development Director for review.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. We have 4 bids tonight, ladies and gentlemen, with an estimate of $18,000 on this project.
First bid is from Active Thermal Concepts of Hiawatha, Iowa. The bid bond is for 5%. And the total bid is for $74,434, 74,434.00. The next bid is from Benton Sand and Gravel. bid bond is for 5%. The bid is for $53,100, 53,100.00. The next bid is from Kelly Demolition and Excavating LLC of Mount Vernon, Iowa. The bid bond is for 5%, and the bid is for $53,000, 53,000.00. The final bid is from Lansing Brothers of Luxembourg, Iowa. The bid bond is in the form of a check for $1,957.50, 1,957.50. And the total bid is for $39,150, 39,150.00.
Madam Clerk, Noel?
Mr. Mayor, what happened here? Why is this so far off?
Noel, as long as you're standing up, want a chance for that, if you can.
Noel Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. Of course, these are Rackham, so they're a little different than the normal standards. Perhaps the contractors thought that the prices were going to be a little bit more for the asbestos-containing materials, or thought that the buildings are all in really rough shape and unsafe to take out the asbestos, so maybe they thought there was more bracing or supports that they'd have to build as part of this. Obviously, we'll try to find that out.
No, did we do a asbestos survey on those?
We did a survey on them, but not the removal. I think we did the survey, didn't we?
We did the survey,
No, we did
yeah.
not do a survey on them either.
Oh, we didn't?
They wouldn't go inside them because of the fire damage.
No, when you've had a chance to review the bids, I mean, will they maybe give you a little bit better idea where they were coming from? Do they specify how they arrived at those? I mean, we've got more than double on the one top to bottom. Will
Yeah,
that
we'll
kinda give you a
definitely try
little
to
bit
find
better?
out the
Yeah.
differences.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Very good. Let's get into resolutions, please, 6, 7, and 8.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Welper?
number 6 is a resolution approving the recommendation of award of bid to Bituminous Materials and Supply LP of Des Moines, Iowa, in the amount of $157,500 for the purchase of emulsions for the fiscal year 2014 seal coating program. Number 7 is a resolution approving a supplemental agreement number 1 with AECom Technical Services, Inc., in the amount of not to exceed $292,000 to include additional planning and engineering services for the Waste Management Services Department, and to extend the agreement date through June 30th, 2015, and authorize mayor to execute said document. Number 8 is a resolution approving a submission of traffic safety grant application in the amount of $65,000 to the Iowa Department of Transportation to be used for safety improvements at LaPorte Road, San Hernan Drive, and signalized intersections to improve traffic signal installations and replace some signs.
Second.
Very good. Council, do you have any questions regarding any of those three?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Schmidt?
could we, I know Mr. Bamsey's here, could we have a little bit of an overview of what we're getting for number 7?
Sure. And since Mr. Ramsey is here, I think it would be appropriate for him to give it to us. If you wouldn't mind, Bob, please. Bob, just for the record, just give us your name.
Bob Bamsey with AECom.
Thank you.
We have an agreement with the council from 3 years ago, I think, and it involves a number of things that we do with Larry and the treatment plant staff and the sanitation services. And I can tick through the actual scope if you wish, but it's basically assisting in the capital improvements planning, the wastewater improvements. We know we have some issues we'll be dealing with EPA. We're looking at the CMOM, which I know you guys have talked about in the past, but assisting with Mark in getting that up and going. liaison with regulatory agencies associated with the waste management planning, looking at funding opportunities, prioritizing the collection system improvements, the pipelining and that sort of thing that will very shortly to do significant improvements for the I&I reduction. We're looking at the private side I&I reduction activities as well under this agreement. Did I miss anything real significant?
I don't think so, Bob, but, you know, I think maybe if we could just characterize it, Steve, and Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but, you know, we need professional help directing us as to, through the minefield of regulations that the government is putting on us. It's much like Van de Waal directs us on our downtown planning. AECom is going to direct us as to how to get through this process with developing and building and implementing updates and corrections to our sanitary and storm sewer system. And rather than try to hire them every time we need them, they've tried to put a not to exceed number on this so that we can call them as we need them to design or to give us counsel or whatever on lots of different projects.
And I guess, you know, part of my question had no inference on AECom, but had more to do with the continuing stringent, for lack of a better term, regulations that the EPA and the DNR continue to, not just in Waterloo, but cities all over the country, some of which maybe questions logic that they go so far. And I don't know that that necessarily applies here, but it just, you know, the fact that we continue to get stuck with this bill.
Yeah.
And we can certainly debate the logic of the regulations, but I'm not sure that's going to get us around the regulations at this point, Steve, so.
Thank you.
Further? Roll call vote, Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Good, the motion's carried. Next three, please, 9, 10, and 11.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schmidt?
Item number 9, I'd like to adopt a resolution approving an agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation in the amount of $8,800 for the development of an airport land use and zoning ordinance at the Waterloo Regional Airport, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said document. Item number 10 is adopting a resolution of support for the Iowa Department of Transportation for an estimated amount of $360,000 to apply for traffic safety funds through the Traffic Safety Program to instruct left turn lanes at, I'm assuming that means install, left turn lanes at Highway 21 and Shawless Road, and authorize the mayor to execute said document. And item number 11 is a resolution setting date of hearing as August 19th, 2013, to approve the request by Dave and Mary Stout to purchase salvage rights for city-owned property located at 519 East 3rd Street for $1 with a development agreement allowing the salvaging of the woodwork and the demolition of the structure when the salvaging is complete, and instruct city clerk to publish notice.
Second.
Very good. Council, do you have any questions regarding 9, 10, or 11? Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Very good. The motion's carried. Next three, please. 12, 13, and 14.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Greenwood.
12 is a resolution approving notice of discontinuation of the NPDES coverage under general permit number 2 for the Iowa Department of Natural Resources in conjunction with the Grand Hotel site. Authorize the mayor to execute the document. 13 is a resolution approving notice of intent for NPDES coverage under general permit number 2 to the Iowa Department of Natural Resources in conjunction with fiscal year 2013 Burns Park Drainage Improvement Phase 3 contract number 850, and authorize the mayor to execute that document. And 14 is a resolution approving PSA agreement with AECom Technical Services in the amount of $1,900 for the development of plans for construction-related services for the 5th Street Bridge rail repairs. Authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute that document.
Second.
Council, do you have any questions regarding 12, 13, or 14?
Is the damage on the 5th Street Bridge, is that going to be paid by somebody's insurance other than ours?
Do you know, Susie?
I don't know, I don't. I guess I'm not aware of the damage on Fifth Street
Eric,
Bridge. There hasn't been.
I don't know, do you know that or not? I don't know who's paying for
Eric
that.
Thorson, City Engineer. I'm not aware if there was a claim or not. I kind of think there wasn't, and I think it was sort of a hit and run.
Yeah, nothing's
that's what I
been
was
come through
hearing.
my office, and typically it does, so I,
Okay.
not at this time anyways.
Further? Roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? Yes. Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Very good, the motion's carried. Last three, please, 15, 16, and 17.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Getty?
item 15 is a resolution approving construction plans and sanitary sewer serving Crossroads Plat Number 10 as submitted by VJ Engineering of Cedar Falls, Iowa. Item 16 is a resolution approving professional service agreement with Ritlin Kuiper Landscape Architects in the amount of $19,000 for U.S. Highway 63 improvements, Franklin Street to Conger and Newell Street corridor enhancement design development, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute said document. And item 17 is a resolution to call for a public referendum to be held on November 5th, 2013, to authorize the imposition of a local sales and service tax in the city of Waterloo at the rate of 1% to be effective January 1, 2016, for 10 years.
Second?
Very good, council. Item number 17 was not on the agenda Thursday morning when we had the agenda meeting, so we haven't had a chance to discuss that or anything else, whether it's 15, 16, or 17. But if anybody has any questions regarding 17 specifically, feel free to ask them. We're renewing the local option sales tax, is what that is.
So the language as is.
The language stays exactly as is, Bob. The only change is we have renewed that every 5 years for the last 5 years. And we are asking the citizens to okay that for 10 years this time so that we can just not have to deal with it every 5 years.
Okay.
Further? Roll call votes, Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Very good. Motion's carried. Let's do number 18, please.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Welper.
Number 18 is a motion to receive, file, and consider and pass for the first time an ordinance amending the speed limit on Kimball Avenue from 20 feet north of Orange Road to Blaine Road from 25 miles per hour to 30 miles per hour. That's the ordinance change speed limit on Kimball Avenue.
Second.
Roll call vote, Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
All four. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to consider and pass for the second and third time and adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Very good. Motion's carry. The next 19, 20, 21, and 22, the four of them are all setting date of hearings, the different dates of hearing, but they're all the same language. So maybe if I could ask Mr. Hart to do those and combine them all, that would be great.
All right, Mr. Mayor, 19, I move to instruct Facilities Project Manager to prepare plan specifications, form of contract for the Gates Park Playground equipment, and then 20 also for the Sullivan Park basketball court upgrade. And 21, motion to instruct the city planner to prepare plan specifications, form of contract for the water line reconnection to 334 Bate Street. And then 22, I move to instruct city engineer to prepare plan specifications, form of contract for the FY 2014, 2672 and 2736 Logan Avenue Sanitary Services Contract Number 861.
Second.
Very good. Council, do you have any questions on any one of those four? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move to receive and file plan specifications, form of contract for 19 through 22.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution preliminarily approving plan specifications, form of contract for 19 through 22.
Second.
And it's a roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yes.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Very good, the motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution setting date of hearing and bid opening as August 26, 2013 for number 19 Gates Park, number 20 Sullivan, and instruct city, and then I'd like to set the date of hearing and bid opening for August 19th for the water line reconnection at Bates, and also for the sanitary services in number 22, and all four of those, and instruct the city clerk to publish notice of plan specifications, form of contract, etc.
Second.
Roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Getty?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. Schmidt?
Yep.
Mr. Welper?
Yes.
Mr. Hart?
Yes.
Very good, the motion is carried. 23, please.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Getty.
make a motion approving change order number 3 for an increase of $294.98 for equipment purchased from Schmidt Telecom Partners for a new phone system for the city.
Second.
Council, do you have any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Or I need to abstain on that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so
Why?
just want to make sure, yeah, you never know.
My question is why you're only asking for $294 for
Because I really like the city of Waterloo. You know.
All right, with an abstention from Mr. Schmidt, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our regularly scheduled business tonight. It's time for oral presentations. If anyone has anything to say to the mayor or council, now is the time to do so. I know we do have one gentleman in the audience that has asked to speak, so, sir, if you would just go ahead and come to the microphone. We need to give you your name and your address, and as you're already aware, limit your comments to 3 minutes if you can, please.
My name is Dustin Lee, 4401 Preserve Lane, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Representing a company that I own called Midwest Curb Grinding. I have literature, if I can pass it out to the council members.
Dennis, could you get that, please?
Basically, one for each person in this folder, aside from that. Mostly all of this is stapled, so each one can go to the staple and then it can pass. Basically, why I'm here is, try to talk here. Page 1 is the driveway and sidewalk specifications for the city of Waterloo that was approved by Waterloo City Council March 26, 2012. Has to do with curb removal, and I've created a business back in 1997 doing curb removal various different ways, and we've come up with curb milling with a milling machine that also saws the curbs also. On page 15, I believe, of the handout, section 36 says curb sawing for driveway approaches and sidewalk accessibility ramps. The third paragraph, for driveway approaches, the curb sawing shall be full depth at the base of the curb section face and shall be a maximum elevation half-inch above the existing gutter and sawn at an angle that will provide an elevation of 2 inches above existing gutter at the back of the curb. Now, we do this process except for the full depth saw cut. We do saw the backside of the curb, which gives it a good sharp edge so that the concrete poured against the backside of the curb is at a nice even juncture there. So a lot of contractors, not a lot of, there have been some contractors that have tried to grind off curbs without that saw blade attachment on the backside, which creates a spalled edge. And when your concrete would expand or contract, it'll get caught up in that spalled edge and pop your approach, which is city property. If you don't really understand what I'm saying, I apologize. It's kind of the world I live in of concrete and grinding and removal. I've tried to get a demonstration with the city engineer. We had one set up, and then it was dissolved. We never were able to do a demonstration. I asked to get a response as to why, and I have not received anything yet. I was told by one of the contractors the reason they wouldn't allow curb milling is because then the homeowners would start grinding their own sidewalks. And I don't know if you guys are gonna start grinding your own sidewalks. I probably wouldn't if I didn't have the equipment. But I wanted to talk about for page 1, excuse me, page, and now I'm losing my place here, I apologize. Excuse me, we're still on page 14, where it talks about a PCC curb sawing system shall employ either a curb cutting machine or track-mounted circular diamond blade wall saw. That machine that you have pictures of is a curb cutting machine. Some of the pictures show the backside where it's nice and sawed, and then it's more of a rough broom textured finish instead of a full cut saw texture, which is somewhat slippery. And I've had some cities and contractors not too in favor of that because of it's a little slippery when it gets wet. We touch 6-7 states grinding curbs. I made a business out of grinding curbs. Who does that? If you think about it, no, you'd never think about it. Driving down the street, wow, somebody made a business of that. But we go all over the Midwest. And Waterloo, Iowa is the only city that won't let me grind curbs. And all I'm asking is for a demonstration. And I apologize. I tried to get on the agenda, and I was told just to kind of show up and give my speech. So I really wanted to get on the agenda tonight. But I was kind of going through some notes here. We do thousands of curbs a year, but not in Waterloo.
Hey, Dustin, who denied your?
I don't know, Eric, was that Eric?
Well, there's another, Mr. Thorson, and maybe Eric, could you speak to it maybe as to what Dustin is talking about?
Eric Thorson, normally if somebody would like us to consider a service, a product, some method, something like that, they'll make an appointment, bring in some literature like you just did tonight, and give us a chance to look at it, decide whether or not we want to consider it and want to have a demo and that sort of thing, and that hasn't happened so far, so I wasn't aware of any demo that was proposed, so.
Okay. I tell you what, could you two get together after the meeting, Eric and Dustin, and maybe you guys can hook up and get the demo and find out what the deal is, straight from Eric, instead of, I'm assuming you talked to somebody other than him.
It was Dennis, Mark, and Wayne.
Okay.
Some of those, they were all ready to do this demonstration, and they called back and said, no, we can't do it, because the engineer said no.
Okay. And somebody told you to come to the council to talk to us?
They said to come here if we wanted to get resolution. So.
Okay, very good. Well, maybe if you meet with Eric after the council meeting, you guys can schedule something and see if we can't get some resolution to it.
Great,
Thanks, Dustin, appreciate it. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to mayor council tonight?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schmidt?
If nobody else does, I just had one item I wanted to bring up. You know, if and maybe this had something to do with my comment to Mr. Bamsey about the EPA and DNR, but if you remember over the last couple of years, we've had some situations. One is the residential area back behind the par 3 golf course on Ridgeway. I always forget what that's called, but that area had never had floodplain issues, and all of a sudden it was decided that they were within the floodplain. And so those folks were notified that they were going to have to buy flood insurance they never had all the time that neighborhood had been there. So they took it upon themselves to hire a hydrologist, I think, or whatever the person's title is, and were able to prove to the DNR or whoever that agency is, that federal agency, that they were not in the floodplain, so they did not have to have flood insurance. Then we had the folks over on what I call the 6th Street corridor, but Bontrager Park, Liberty Park, that whole area was decided to be in the floodplain, never had been in 100 years. Again, I think some of that was based on misinformation. I know we appealed that. I know that's somewhere in process, and I'm not sure what, where that's at in that process. And I believe we're now to that point in time where people are going to have to start buying that flood insurance if something doesn't change, and that flood insurance is very expensive. Now, at the end of last week, or sometime last week, I got a couple calls that an area downtown is now being, a commercial area down along the river is now being determined to be in the floodplain. It had never been in the floodplain before. Looking at the information that the city has, it appears that FEMA has moved the dike in their infinite wisdom, and now we have, I think, millions of dollars of commercial real estate that's now being determined to be in the floodplain. And so I just wanted to bring that up. I hadn't heard that mentioned before about the commercial area, but it just seems to be one bit of misinformation, and I'm not inferring we're sending the misinformation. I think FEMA's somehow they're getting things wrong and just deciding that folks need to start buying flood insurance for no good reason. And so I just wanted the point to be out there that if we're not doing something on this, we should be. And I also think it's, I think it's probably the city's responsibility to deal with this rather than, I know the folks back behind the par 3, I'm told, paid $600 a piece to correct this, again, misinformation through no fault of their own. So I don't know.
Answer to two of your three questions. The study that was done by AECom on the 6th Street corridor that you referred to is done, has been submitted. There were, by far the majority of the area that had been deemed to be in a floodplain, our engineering study suggested that it was not. But we are still at the mercy of FEMA mapping in order to get anything done with that. So our study has been submitted to FEMA, and we are waiting for FEMA to agree or disagree with that study to see whether or not any of those homes actually get removed from the flood map. So that is totally in FEMA's ballpark. The second issue, or the third issue, the downtown issue, is also a FEMA mapping issue. If Eric was still here, Noel, or can you, Eric, either one, kind of, they just flat missed where the flood levee is. They mapped it wrong, and they put areas of town, and according to the map, it's on the wet side of the dike, and it's not. It's on the dry side. And they mismapped it, and to date, they've said, sorry, pay your insurance. So we are appealing that. We haven't gotten a ruling yet. Bob?
I forwarded you an article about
Yes,
3
you did.
weeks ago,
Yeah,
and
you did.
what that thing said was that they had used an old map. I mean, this is a problem not only here, but
Yeah.
across the country,
Yeah.
that they used a map that wasn't current with what the state of the art or the state of the situation is today.
Yeah, and it's, they're incredibly flippant about their response to us to date. But, we will do everything we can to make sure that that gets corrected.
So have we, just out of curiosity, have we had anybody from FEMA here to even see what we're talking about? Or do they just kind of do this from on top of the ivory tower? How does that work?
Noel Anderson, Community Planning Development Director. And let me go backwards just a little bit. Ever since they adopted the floodplain maps for this area back in the early 80s, there's been a process. There's a LOMA and a LOMER. It's a letter of map amendment or a letter of map revision, where basically they recognized they're mapping large areas. There could be some small errors on site by site, so you could go and hire a surveyor to come out and say, hey, their map's a little bit wrong. Your property's actually a foot above the 100-year floodplain elevation, and therefore you could get it released through a letter of map amendment. Or a letter of map revision was you were doing something to get it taken out, like building your property up with fill or something like that. So they've always kind of had a process. With the remapping recently, obviously staff worked with them for a number of years actually on providing them information. Some of the information they used, some of it they didn't, that they could verify. And then with the larger area that the city approved, I mean, that was up to the city council because it affected so many homes to go ahead and do a city study. But like you said, the people over there along the golf course were able to do it themselves because the city didn't move ahead with that. And again, that's a city council decision, and we look at that on the number of homes that's impacted. The downtown one, where they basically put the line on the map in the wrong place according to where the levee is definitely a new one. And we have been speaking with them on different options there. To date, we haven't got any remedy that we've been satisfied with. There is a regional person from the DNR going to visit us in the next couple of weeks to talk about that with us and look at the information too, so we're hoping to get some help from him.
Perfect.
Very good. I have one issue that I was supposed to talk about last week and I forgot. Noel's going to put a couple of pictures up, but I'm speaking to those in council chambers, and particularly all of those that are watching, hopefully tonight, that we're having a real issue in the city with our blue recyclable garbage carts. And what's happening with that is we have particular days with the garbage, with the recycle carts that are to be used for recyclables, plastics and cardboards and et cetera, et cetera. And there are certain days that they are supposed to be used for yard waste. You cannot commingle those 2 days. It causes us, and the pictures are showing times when they were supposed to be yard waste out, and hidden in the yard waste are bags of garbage. That costs the city a tremendous amount of money. Those have to be hand sorted then when the garbage gets in there. It's actually more damaging when they're supposed to be recyclables and you put yard waste in there, because then it has to all be everything has to be pulled out of there. So it's gotten to be such a problem with the commingling of the recycle carts that we are going to have to address it. So we're going to start by identifying those properties that commingle those recycle carts and send them a letter with one warning. After that, we haven't completely decided, but we will, at the very least, suspend the recyclable cart program for that residence, because we just simply can't afford to hand sort all of the loads that we're getting that are commingled. If that doesn't work, we may have to issue a fine of some kind, but I'm just pleading with everybody, read your calendars. If it's a recycle day, put recycles in it. If it's a yard waste day, put yard waste days in it. Don't mix the two. Costs us a lot of money, which in turn costs you a lot of money.
And definitely don't put trash
Don't put trash.
in the box.
And don't put trash. And don't ever put trash in the boxes. Yeah, don't ever put your garbage bag in there.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Schmidt.
if I could just ask one other thing.
Okay.
I think almost all of us were there this weekend, but I think we probably had a record turnout this weekend at the Iowa Irish Fest.
We had a very good turnout.
I had to mention that because I hear this weekend is the Irish Fest in Dubuque, so I don't want to get that confused with the Iowa Irish Fest. But I thought maybe Mr. Walsh might want to give us a little update on whatever numbers he has.
Pleased to say that the fest was a record in attendance all 3 days, and it was fun for everyone, and thanks to everyone who came.
Perfect. Thank you.
Very good. Anything further?
Mr. Mayor, motion to receive and file oral comments and adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you very much, ladies.